Hello and welcome everybody out there in Facebook land and various sundry other social media platforms who are checking us out. This is the Build and Grow with Real Estate Show. My name is Judah Hoover, and this is my co-host, Josh Weidman. We come to you guys every day at noon. We've got a rapidly expanding and growing audience, and we are very humbled and blessed that you guys are with us and checking us out. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we do 3 to 5 minutes worth of news and then some really great content about real estate investing. And then Thursday, we have a guest on. Yesterday's guest was just, dropping knowledge bombs left and right
God.
on
Right?
us. It was such great content. And
If
then
you're
Friday, we cover the news that you need to know as it relates to being a realtor or being a real estate investor. And that is what we are going to get into in a little bit. But Josh, why don't you start off the show by introducing yourself and telling us who you are?
Absolutely. Thanks, Judah. My name's Josh Weidman. I've been a real estate investor since 2006. Coming on 14 years here. I'm also a hard money lender. So if you are looking to fund your next project, give me a call at 717-213-8488. We are direct lenders, which means that we can underwrite your project on the same day that you call us, get you approved for the loan. And then if you have a need to close tomorrow, we can do it. We currently are lending in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Northern Virginia, and DC. So if you have a need for funding on your next project, you got to close quick, or you got to close in a couple weeks, give me a ring, or you can check us out online at hardmoneybankers.com. Yeah, man. Look forward to hearing from you. Judah, go ahead. Tell us about you and, give us your background and what you're doing now.
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Josh. My name is Judah Hoover. I'm an executive with Slate House Group. I am 41 years old. I bought my first rental property when I was about 22. So I've been doing this for a very long time. There's almost no facet of real estate investing that I haven't seen, and I want to be your realtor. I'm interested in helping you find your next property for your primary residence or your second home or an investment property. And I also want to list the same. Unfortunately, some people pigeonhole me because I do so much real estate investing and so much advising in the real estate investing space that they don't think of me when it comes to doing their primary residences. But I shine at that stuff. And I think the number is about 75% of the real estate transactions that I've worked on have actually been for owner occupied type dwellings, for people's primary residences and things like that. So I really shine and do excellent there. 717-766-7994. Don't call me after midnight. Don't call me during church on Sunday morning. Other than that, I usually answer. So Josh, today is our news roundup show.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what we have going on.
Oh my goodness. So last week I changed the name of the show from the news and updates, weekly news and updates, to our end of the world show.
Right.
And because it seems like the craziness just continues, and only in an apocalyptic future would these things actually be part of reality.
Somebody just sent me a Facebook meme this morning about this group that is trying to change the name in real estate of master bedrooms because of the racist and sexist overtones. And they sent it to me. They sent it to me and said, remember when we used to joke around about, is this real or is this an Onion headline? And now we can't even joke around about, is this real or is this an Onion headline?
It's there's so much chaos out there. So let's dive in to the most important.
Can you imagine like your son asking you 20 years from now, hey daddy, what did you do to move the needle on oppression and sexism and racism in your day and age? And some dad actually proudly saying, well, little Johnny wasn't always called the big nap room. There was a time when there was a sexist term for what we today call big nap chamber in our houses. And
Well, Judah, how about this? we have been limiting and limiting and limiting language. You know,
Right.
more and more things become off the table. You can't use that word. You can't use this. By the time my kids have kids, there's just going to be one word. It's going to be like beep, beep, beep.
Right.
All communication will be boiled down to one thought, or better yet, we'll be communicating, through our brains through these Neuralinks, which will.
Well, no, that's the last story of the day. Don't get there yet. We've got to. If we want to cover your boy Elon Musk, who you have a not so secret man crush on, we've got some other. We've got some other work to get through. First and foremost, housing.
Yeah, really good stuff on housing. The first note on housing is the eviction crisis. So I'm going to skip that and start with housing news first, and then we'll go back to that, right? Okay. So first thing, home ownership rate is the highest it's been since in the last 12 years. I think it was, what's 12 years ago? 2008, 2007? Yeah, 2008. Okay, so right now, 67.9% of households own the home in which they live. That's pretty cool. Yep. We've got pending home sales are up, increased 17% in June from the month before. I'm sure we mentioned that in the prior show. But signed contracts are up 6.3% year over year. That's great.
That's good because that's
really great.
That's a year over year number. That's not a month over month number. So that really takes into account where we are.
Right. And
one of the biggest economic numbers, when you read economic numbers right now, you have to be really careful because there was a steep pandemic drop off. And so there's a disproportionate peak up. And so it's easy to say, oh, well, this number is up, but somebody's actually talking about month over month and it's down year to date or down year over year, but they're talking about it in a positive sense because of March, April, May, how down numbers were. And then June and July, numbers have been coming back up. But you have to, so this being a year over year number is actually meaningful, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I got my favorite number for the week.
Yep.
Is coming up here in just 1 second, but I have to put some background on this. So when I was a kid, I can remember my parents telling me, if you can work out making one extra mortgage payment every year,
right?
Just it's like a couple bucks every month.
Either twice a year, make an extra half a payment, or every month, make double the payment, or just figure out a way to pay extra every month and make a 13th payment every year.
Right. If you do that, it cuts a third of the time off your mortgage, right? That's a pretty big number. And I mean, if you ever look at an amortization schedule, basically what happens is all the interest is pushed on the front of the loan. So on the front side of the loan, you're paying all the interest. And by the time you get to the last payment, it's 100% principal, right? Well, right now, mortgage rates are ridiculously low and historically low. Below 3% for a 30-year fix. But if you want to go and you really want to push it and get your mortgage paid off quickly, the 15-year mortgage is below 2%.
Right.
2% interest on a 15-year mortgage. It's unbelievable.
Right. I mean, basically, take your mortgage, divide it by 180. You know what I mean? And that's close to what your payment is going to be. Yeah. So if you're going to borrow $200,000, because 180 is how many 12-month payments there are in 15 years for those of you slowly doing the math at home. So if you take 200,000 divided by 180, that's roughly what your mortgage payment would be.
It's hilarious that the 2% interest, it's like negligible.
Right.
It's like a throwaway. To calculate your payment, just divide by the number of payments, the principal by the number of payments. It's hilarious. So I love that number. That's some bright spots. Now we're going to get into some dicey water here. All week we've been talking about evictions, and I read a number yesterday that blew my mind. Guess how much in arrears the current tenant market is? Like if in arrears and rents, unpaid rents. Guess how much is out there? $21.5 billion.
Wow.
I mean, that is a shocking number.
Yeah.
Evictions, it's projected that 40% of tenants across the country are going to be unable or unwilling to pay their rent in August. It's a little bit scary, and it really brings a lot of relevance to a lot of the stuff that we talked about yesterday with David. I think if you weren't around for yesterday's show, you didn't have a chance to watch. David is an eviction attorney in Central Pennsylvania out of Camp Hill, and he laid down some knowledge bombs that blew my mind. Like some loopholes in the system. Even though we're in an eviction moratorium right now, there are still ways to evict tenants.
Yep.
So, if you didn't see yesterday's show, check it out. It's really, really excellent. Great information. And, that's that. But, Judith, let's talk about unemployment. What the heck's going on there?
We're seeing a spike back up in unemployment, obviously, because of, kind of the reshutting down. So we're at 1.4 million for the week in new claims. And that number was a lot higher, and then it came down to about the 1.1 number, and it is still we're at the 19th straight week over 1 million people filing for unemployment. This number was historically, before these new historic times, this number was at like 30,000. You know what I mean? So We're nowhere close to where a normal, stable U.S. economy market has been for unemployment. We are, we're really struggling here. Second week in a row that claims have increased after, the 15-week downturn. So the second week we've actually seen an increase. Along with unemployment is we've just finally gotten the GDP number for the second quarter. And the reason that's significant is because the second quarter was the first quarter that we've had where it was a full pandemic quarter. The pandemic kind of came in the end of the first quarter and kind of affected first quarter numbers, but second quarter was a full pandemic, and it is at GDP, that's gross domestic product. So that's personal spending and government spending. All the dollars spent in the U.S. economy dropped by 32.9%. So that's an annualized rate. So that's, it's really 9% is what it's down. And the thought process is that if you extrapolate that out and the economy continues at this level, the year-over-year numbers would be just under 33%. That's actually, depending on how you want to look at it, there were thoughts that 35% was an optimistic number. So we've beaten kind of we're within the consensus. Consensus was between 30 and 35% on that number. So that makes a lot of sense.
We're beating the negative projections. So an important number here to follow is the long-term unemployment, and that is more than 2 weeks of continued claims. Right. That number's at 17 million. It's just over 17 million jobless claims. That's really staggering. It's it rose 867,000 this week from the prior week. It's just such a big number, and it doesn't even include people that are unemployed or technically employed but not really working. So, there's a lot out there that is...
Right, so the week-over-week number went up by roughly the population of Lebanon and York County.
Oh, my gracious. So
right. That was just the increase in the already ugly number.
That's right.
Every soul in York and Lebanon County. Man, woman, and child. If every man, woman, and child in Lebanon and York County was of working age and wanted to have a job, that's how many more people are on continuing unemployment this week versus last week.
And so to make this matter worse, the $600 weekly supplement for unemployment benefits expired 3 days ago or something like that. So
I thought it was today.
No longer ongoing. What's that?
I thought it was today.
Well, it's not it ended like the 26th or the 27th of the month.
Oh,
But it just, it's easier to say, oh, the end of July. Regardless. Okay. I'll even say I'm wrong there. Whatever. It's over, and I think that, this plays in really quickly. We're going to talk about the new stimulus package, but I think it's really interesting how,
dueling stimulus packages. We should come up if we were a highly produced show with professionals, we would have like a dueling banjos segment here or something like that.
well, here's what I'm looking at with this, and I think that there's two different proposals. There's probably a lot more than that. Republicans want to add $1 trillion, in expenses this year. Democrats want to add $3 trillion. It's like six in one hand, half dozen the other. It's just a humongous number.
Right.
What I think is ironic or telling here is that this hasn't even been a major discussion point in the Senate and the Congress until we're coming to the end of these benefits. It's almost as if we want to have a frantic push of craziness so that both sides can throw in their crap into this bill. And that really bothers me more than anything else. I think that the unemployment, a lot of the bankruptcies, a lot of the business closures are the direct result of the shutdown of the economy, right? And so I think it's realistic and probably consistent and right for government to step in and provide some kind of supplement. But why wait till the last second?
Right, because that way the political pressure can be that much higher. So yeah, I mean, I didn't think we were going to quite get into this right now, but I mean, the problem is that I see with the dueling stimulus packages is just for comparison's sake, the Republicans' plan is roughly $1 trillion with a T. Remember, we were just talking about 25 billion in uncollected rent. We're talking about spending $1 trillion as like the third stimulus package, trillion with a T. The Democrats want that number to be $3 trillion. And remember, it wasn't that long ago where the birth of the Tea Party movement was started because of the Affordable Care / Obamacare Act, that they were trying to do all kinds of fancy backflip accounting to keep that number under $1 trillion over 10 years. Yeah. So we are in a month or two period going to spend $1 trillion when we were, for a short term fix needed. I get it. Everybody's in pain and everything like that. But we're going to spend $1 trillion of government spending and run up the debt by $1 trillion when, for good, bad, or indifferent, we were going to overhaul the entire healthcare system and maybe put some permanent fixes into place. And obviously now we see that hasn't worked out, but I'm not even trying to, put Obamacare on trial right now. I'm just saying, when you compare those two, look at the outrage there was over 850 billion versus what there is over 1 trillion, and that's the conservative Republicans plan. The point is that we're going to be spending a lot of money.
Yeah,
there's going to be a lot of pork in this bill. There's going to be a lot of free money going around. We're going to need to print a lot. I think that the government is trying to create inflation because inflation has been so low for the last 15 years.
Yep.
That all of the long-term projection numbers don't work, and we have real economic problems if we don't have sustained inflation of just above 2%. And if we don't have sustained inflation just above 2%, then we really run into trouble.
Yeah, I'm there with you. 100%.
I mean, it sucks that that's how we've built our economy. It sucks that that's how we've built promises to our seniors and our taxation system and everything like that. And maybe we should build a separate system. That's a dispassionate conversation to have at a dispassionate time. But objectively, we run into trouble if we don't have at least a 2% inflation rate, and we don't have that. And all of this spending is required to create inflation.
Well, and the thing about this is that this week has been really interesting with the COVID situation, right? I don't want to get into that too much, but Herman Cain passed away after getting COVID. He died yesterday or 2 days ago.
Allegedly while attempting a peaceful outside protest. Oh wait, no.
No, it
Um,
was a Trump rally.
it was at a Trump rally. Right,
Right.
right, right, right,
So
right.
I mean,
I mean, because the reason you know that is because it's mentioned all the time. We never mention when people contract the coronavirus at a allegedly peaceful protest.
so let's take politics out of this. Here, one thing that became really apparent to me this week is that the COVID discussion has become political when it shouldn't be. Like this is a virus that obviously kills people, and there's so little that we know about it. I mean, it's been around for less than a year in the public discussion and the public domain. Even, I mean, when did China start having problems? November?
Yeah, something like
Right.
that.
So we don't even have a year of data here. We're talking about throwing out vaccines. We're talking about, the schools are closed. We're letting prisoners out of prison. Like there's a lot of crazy things that are happening now. And we're just starting to get a handle on this. But if you if you're on Facebook, you probably have seen all of the posts about these doctors that came out and said there was a cure and this and that. Now, whatever you think about that politically, I have some friends that are doctors that are super smart, and they've told me polar opposite thoughts
Right,
about COVID.
right.
Knowing that, and that is a backdrop. Like these people are really smart, and they have no political slant in our discussion. We got to keep politics out of this COVID stuff because
Right.
it's very reasonable. Well, I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on. Nobody wants to hear about it. Everybody's, I think, emotionally overtaxed by this whole thing. Whatever. Let's talk about the dollar. We're talking about inflation. What's happening with the dollar right now?
Well, I think that we're seeing the dollar has dropped in value about 4% compared to other currencies since July, and I think a big part of that was because of other economies and other currencies in the world performing very poorly over the past 5 to 7 years, and so the dollar has been having a really good decade. It's the worst monthly sell off since 2010. And the consequences are that this is going to create some inflation, which means that retirement and savings accounts are going to be affected.
Yep.
Debt becomes less costly, though, which is great because we seem to be in love with printing it right now. But this is also, we're going to circle back around. This is also part of what's buoying the stock market in two ways because, well, like in a bunch of different ways that we'll get into. Because number one, exports. Number two, stock prices go up. Number three, gold goes up. Number four, the other thing that happens with that is as exports go up, people buy more in foreign countries, so our goods do better overseas. So that's good for our stocks. Plus, companies that have like a subsidiary overseas that they used to hold profits in overseas, they bring those profits home when the dollar goes down. And historically, oh shoot, who was it that said it? It was like Goldman Sachs or one of those people said that the S&P has a historic bounce of 2.6% in months where the dollar slips. So the dollar goes down and the S&P goes up. And that is a pretty good indicator of what's going on. You can't talk about the dollar without also talking about the stock market or vice versa right now because they're so linked.
Yeah.
Apple just did a 4-to-1 split that is unheard of.
Yeah.
So basically, what they do is they uh, usually they do a 2-for-1 split. It's
Right.
really rare that a company does a 3-for-1 split. I can't think of another time that I have heard of a company saying that they've done a 4-for-1 split. I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but so basically, what a company will do is they'll say, okay, our company is worth $10 a share. But that's too expensive for the average person to buy, so we're gonna slash it down to $5 a share, but we're gonna double everybody's shares. So they don't actually dilute the value. They just half the price but double the shares so that everyone's owns just as much Apple stock, but the trading price of Apple stock comes down, so it's easier to buy and sell. Apple did that 4 ways. They did a 4-way split. So if you had Apple shares, the number of shares you had went up by 4 times, but the value was divided by 4, so the net is the same, but Apple's price came down by a factor of 4, which will make it easier to trade.
Meanwhile, Berkshire Hathaway is just under 300,000 a share. Right? So,
right.
You know,
so of their Class A shares. So Warren Buffett fundamentally disagrees with the concept of doing a stock split, and has never done one or rarely done one. I'm sure. And so yes, great example. So Berkshire Hathaway shares are 300. So the Dow is down 11% on the year. But if you look back at the end of July, I did this just for fun. The end of July, we're like within 300 points of a year over year where we were with the Dow. So we have this huge dip. We've really seen a V-shaped recovery, kind of like one of the co-hosts of this show said we were going to see. So we really have seen a V-shaped recovery in the stock market, and I think we're going to see it in the rest of the economy as well once we actually open back up, because we're within 300 points of where we were this time last year.
I can't let you get away with that one. I can't let you. I didn't realize that we were already recovered. Apparently, the economy's already recovered. Hey, guys, get back out there. Forget the math.
I got a job, but what? I got a job. You got a job. That's fine. We're doing great. What? Let them eat cake.
Oh my gracious! Oh my gracious!
Dow, the Dow is not doing that awful. NASDAQ is up 18% on the year and up 30% year over year. If you would have invested in the Dow or in NASDAQ this time last year, you would be seeing a 30% ROI on your money.
I'm gonna second Taz's
I know.
in here. Stand stocks. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to something more pleasant. Let's talk about politics.
Oh, we already talked about politics.
Well, all right. So there's been some interesting things happening this week. Yesterday, all right. A lot of Democrats think
I'm interested to know how you get the real estate tie-in on this. I know you wanted to talk about this. What's the real estate tie-in to Trump tweeting with 3 question marks? Should we delay the election? I mean, that's what we're going to yell about and talk about. And you're going to. I think that's I think he just asked the question. Hey, because of what's going on, because of what's happening, delay the election. Question mark, question mark, question mark. He didn't come out with some plan. He didn't come out with some proposal. He didn't come out with some mandate. He said, delay the election. Question mark, question mark, question.
Let me throw this out there. Yeah. I have a lot of friends that are liberal slanting. My wife has even more friends that are much more liberal than you and I would be. And I've had reasonable conversations. Like these are nice people. They're normal people. And we've had open conversations about politics and their opinion about Donald Trump. I can absolutely see, because he is such a strong personality, I can see how people could see the way he acts, the way he bullies people, and say, like, this guy acts a lot like a dictator could, like a burgeoning dictator. I don't think that. That's not my opinion, right? But I understand the argument. When you have that same guy a couple months before the national election that happens every 4 years, who people have already said, oh, he's not going to let the election happen. When he comes out and even asks the question, it is such a stupid political move.
Stupid political move. Idiot political move. There's not a chance we should do it. I wish that he wouldn't have done it. All of that true. I'm just saying dispassionately, he tweeted about it with some question marks, and I think the Republicans and Democrats all did what they should have done, which is give uniform, immediate pushback. But I also don't think that we need to add hyperbole on top of it and and make it out to be worse than what it really was.
I agree with you. I agree with you. That guy is his own worst enemy. If he would just get off Twitter and shut his mouth, he should campaign like Joe Biden and he would win. Like, go downstairs in the basement in a bunker, don't do anything, don't say anything. He's going to win the election. But
yeah, I respectfully disagree. There was 30 other GOP candidates that he ran against and beat them all handedly because they were not bombastic. If you want to cut through the press, you've got to be a little bit ridiculous.
Okay. All right. This week in Congress, it was very, very entertaining to watch these hearings. I don't know if you've watched them or not.
Yeah, they've been grilling everybody.
Yeah, everybody got grilled. You got all the head of all the tech companies. You got Attorney General Barr, and everybody's throwing these crazy questions at them. And
I gotta tell you, all those heads of tech companies are like all multi-millionaires, all multi-billionaires. Yeah. They show up. Like everyone's like, I remember like being in youth group in the late 90s and saying like, who do you want to be if you could be one person? Oh, I'd want to be Bill Gates. You know what I mean? Because he's the richest man in the man. And like Bill Gates was just becoming a buzzword. I got to tell you, like, it takes a lot of money to be able to comfort yourself and sleep at night when you show up in Washington and both Republicans and Democrats rip you a new one. Right. You know what I mean? Like when you're that guy who gets yelled at by Republicans and Democrats.
Yep. Ooh, it's troubling. Ooh. It's troubling. And you know what though? They're going these guys aren't like a billionaire. Right. They're like such a billionaire that they could donate half of their net worth and they still are worth way more than everybody else. It's nuts. Right. All right. Moving on to much more fun things.
Are we talking about Elon Musk now?
Well, not yet. I could take a whole show and talk about Elon Musk. I mean, major man crush here. But let's start with the University of California researchers have put together a test that allows them to identify cancer cells for certain kinds of cancer years before there is any kind of symptoms or evidence. And they're in they're in areas that typically once you find out you have cancer, it's troubling. Like, you're in trouble. Esophageal cancer, actually, it's not that high, and colon cancer also not that high. But we're talking about liver cancer, stomach cancer, other forms of cancer that, if they're able to do a blood test and identify this years before as a potential problem, it can be treated much more mildly, and it can increase our lifespan.
You also know to be looking out for it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You also know to be paying attention to it so that if it does or doesn't become an issue. I was listening to a podcast just yesterday, and a really cool guy out of Toronto who has like non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And he was having like swollen lymph nodes and like pain in his lower back and didn't understand. He was like, oh, I'm 30, I'm getting old, and I'm fighting a cold, and I've got, swollen glands. And he didn't understand that these two things were related or that it was potentially cancerous until we went to the doctor and got checked out because of this stuff. And they're like, yeah, this is what this is. And so if they can identify this, they can keep it, to keep an eye on, right. I have a higher likelihood of esophageal cancer. So if I have a throat cold that doesn't go away for 3 or 4 days, I should pay attention to that instead of just continuing to drink NyQuil and hoping it goes away. Yeah, that's great news.
All right. Before we jump into Elon Musk, and we'll include him in a broader discussion. But one thing, Jeff Bezos, he just got cleared by the SEC to.
Is it Bezos or Bezos? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, there we go. There is he just got cleared by the. Actually, it's not the SEC. It's Federal Communications FCC to start launching satellites for wireless internet. And I mean, we're in a time right now where a lot of these tech companies, they make so much money that they can in one area that they can spin off into all of these other companies. And I mean, we live in an amazing time where technology is advancing so fast and in so many different areas. And because because finances are concentrated so much in the hands of a few companies, I think it's amazing what these people are doing. Like Google, people hate Google because they track you and do all this stuff. I'm in love with Google. They give away so much value because they make a ton of money on search. Like, I love it. I absolutely love it. They've got all these pet projects and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, I know they are slanted left, but you know what, man? I'm impressed. Jeff Bezos and Amazon, they don't really make a profit, but it's only because they're spending their money into the next piece of technology.
You're committed to the Bezos, even though we're getting so many Bezoses in the comments right now. We're going to ask questions like this too. So it's BEE, Bezos, like Bezos. Your final answer. You're sticking with that.
Dude, I'm not even thinking about that. My mind is on Elon Musk because Elon Musk is the man. All right.
Yes.
So later, there's early night, or gee whiz, late August 28th, his company Neuralink is going to be holding a press conference. And I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. I always liked Neuralink. When they had this big press release about a year and a half ago, it was pretty awesome and it really engaged me. If you haven't seen Neuralink, if you haven't caught one of our prior shows, here's what Neuralink is. Neuralink is
computers in your brain. Computers in your brain.
Well, not yet. The computer is actually outside your brain, but the idea is that you've got electrodes implanted into the brain through an outpatient surgery,
right?
And initially is going to allow you to control a computer device like a laptop or a phone or a tablet. Really cool idea. Go ahead.
Or a prosthetic limb.
That's version 2.
Right. I'm just yeah, exactly.
The technology is already there to control the mouse on a screen, right? The next step is to help people that have spinal cord injuries to reconnect neurons to their limbs through these electrodes. That's pretty amazing. That's world changing, life changing for a lot of people. And then there's version 3. 3.0 is really mind blowing. The idea is to create a separate node of the brain that interacts with artificial intelligence and the internet so that we can increase our mental processing abilities. And that's why Elon Musk got involved with this company, because he saw the threat of AI. The exponential growth in artificial intelligence really can challenge humanity. But by adding this Neuralink, now all of a sudden we have the same type of processing power that a supercomputer or an artificial intelligence has. And we have access to all of the data all of the time. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's going to be just like the Matrix, where they're like, I need to learn how to fly a helicopter.
Right.
It's downloaded into your brain.
Exactly. So the cool thing about this is that last year in 2019, they held a live stream where they actually implanted 3,000 electrodes live online. I mean, it's amazing. So I can only imagine what's going to come next. But the cool thing is, right now they've been testing this process, and they've been testing these electrodes and reading neurons and things like that in animals with an 87% success rate. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So like step 1 is you can control a computer.
Right.
Step 2 is you can control like
what's a prosthesis initially?
Prosthesis, and other types of things like that. But step 3 is this is a third lobe of your brain. Like right. You could have a computer that you tap into, be it a computer that you keep on your person, or through Wi-Fi, Bluetooth connection, whatever, up to the cloud. And just like you have all your pictures stored on the cloud, you can have other memories and other skills stored on the cloud.
It's amazing. And the really cool thing about this about
That's not scary at all.
what? Oh yeah.
That's not scary.
Right. Of course it's scary. Of course
Right.
it's scary. I mean, we're already being spied on through our internet use. But
Right.
this is what I think is cool about this technology, right? You've got these electrodes implanted in your brain. They actually designed a whole process, a needle that a process that allows brain surgery in an outpatient surgery like LASIK surgery, where you go in and I mean, I got to stay home from work for a day, and then I'm going back to work a day after brain surgery. It's amazing. And the hardware, or the hardware that actually does the processing, the computer part of it, is a small box that sits behind your ear. So it's external. If you want to disconnect, you take that off. I mean, so there is the potential here for upgrades without opening up your skull every time, disconnecting from that network if need be, if it gets a little too scary for you. So we'll see what the future brings.
Yeah, just like disconnecting from that network if it gets too scary for you. Just like you can leave your phone at home and go to the grocery store, like you used to be able to. Like, can you imagine going any place or doing anything without your phone right now? Also, could you imagine what's that?
I do it intentionally. Like you have to.
You have to. But also, like, can you imagine like just what a red flag it is to people if you like leave your phone at home and you go do something? I mean, like, it's all right. So we got like 3 minutes left here in the show on a Friday, and we always talk about crazy conspiracies here at the end of the day on Friday. I am your resident extreme skeptic, and Josh, I mean, over here, he believes anything. So I have a question, Josh. The flat earthers.
Yep.
Do you believe that there are people who actually believe in flat, that the earth is flat, or do you believe that is like a troll community, just like the birds aren't real community, just like the storm Area 51, like they were never really going to storm Area 51. It was all just a giant joke. Like there's not people out there who say they're by the way, if some of the best humor on the internet is the birds aren't real people. Are you familiar with the birds aren't real?
No.
There's people who, again, I think just like the flat earthers, there's people who have come up with all these memes and all this intellectual data dump on birds aren't real, and it's just trolls. They say the birds were extinct from the 1970s, and that all birds that we see are actually just robots from the government spying on us. It's some of the best comedy out there. I think that flat earthers are the same thing. They're trolls showing you how easily people are to be manipulated, but I don't actually believe there's any real people behind the flat earther movement. Agree or disagree?
I'm going to give you a perfect analogy to prove that these people are real and really think this. Okay? In the early 1900s, this new idea came about. This really, really interesting idea where we could form a society where everybody shares everything, where nobody even owns everything because everything's owned by everybody.
Right.
It sounded like a great idea. Even today on the surface, it sounds really great. And so a couple places tried it out. And what it resulted in is the mass incarceration and murder of hundreds of millions of people across the planet. Right?
Right. Yes.
And yet, we still have people today pushing this narrative that that's a great idea.
I love that you took flat earther to anti-communism. I mean, Josh, this is why we can be friends. This is the fact that, I mean, forget 7 steps from Kevin Bacon. I am like 3 steps away from anti-communism. I can get any conversation to be an anti-communist in 3 steps, and you did it in 1, and I didn't even see it coming.
Well, so on the flat earther stuff, it is very interesting to hear people explain this, right? And if you can believe that the moon landing was a hoax, which I'm not sure of, but maybe it is, maybe it isn't, whatever. If you can believe that, right? And you can believe that, I mean, if you believe that military technology is 40 years ahead, you think about how real. So my son loves oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't think of the name of this game. It's an online game. I can't believe it. It's really super popular, and shooting people and all this stuff.
Fortnite.
Thank you, dear goodness, that's awful. He's gonna not be happy that I didn't know that. But all right, so he loves Fortnite, right?
I was gonna guess Minecraft until you said about shooting people. At that point, I was like, nope, that ain't Minecraft.
So you got Fortnite, right? Fortnite is a pretty cool interactive space, and it's pretty realistic, and especially in comparison to 10 years ago or 20 years ago, right? Imagine being 40 years in the future, how realistic we can make those type of things look and feel. And if we're talking about video and photo and altering all of that stuff, like there's certainly people that can make an argument for that. And then you take a little snippet from NASA that says, oh yeah, this image is a conglomeration of a bunch of different photos. That doesn't mean it's fake. It's just, if you just want to see half of the Earth, we'll show you that photo. If you want to see the other half, we'll show you another one. You see the whole thing, we'll put them together. It looks great. You can create a narrative around that if you refuse to believe anything.
Right.
And I think that we've gotten to a point here. Actually, you know what, man? This reminds me of an article that I read from one of the oh my gosh, from a guy who's really intelligent. Here's the argument that he made. In the 1970s, we reached a critical mass of humans and development. And he made this analogy. Imagine if you have a law firm that specializes in class action lawsuits, right? And they recruit the very best attorneys from the very best schools across the country to come and work for their law firm. Well, all of those lawyers that are coming in, they assume that they're going to be partners one day. They work the hardest. They're working 20 hours a day, every day. They're chasing down leads, all this and that. Well, the first group that comes in, they're going to eventually become partners. But then you have the next group that comes in, and the next group. And year after year after year, they're amassing the best and brightest in this field. And they're all aspiring to be partners. The only way that they become partners is if they're finding more ways to file these class action lawsuits. And pretty soon you have class action lawsuits for bubblegum wrappers that, have too much sugar on them. And, it just gets to the point where it becomes ludicrous, and you're fabricating information. You're creating a reality. You're creating a reason for your job, right?
Right.
Now, extrapolate that in every other profession, every other aspect of society. And what you get is a whole lot of content being pushed out that is there so that the person that's pushing out the content can propel their career further and further and further.
Clickbait.
Yeah, but it's not even necessarily clickbait. They're real studies on real things, but everybody has their own slant on things, right? And so what you get is this overwhelming dump of information, and now it's all from credible sources, and it's all conflicting, and people don't know what to think anymore. Right. Because this really credible guy over here says that the Earth is flat, and this guy over here says you're an idiot, and here's proof on both sides. And I think that people that follow flat earther theories and things like that are just the natural progression of that idea. It's like, how outrageous can we get? And how much proof can we present for these outrageous ideas?
Right.
I don't know. I don't believe flat earthers are telling the truth. That's it.
Wait, you mean
I don't believe in the flat earth theory.
You don't believe in the flat earth theory. You believe that the Earth is round.
That's right.
I'm a flat earther denier.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
No. I'm not a flat earth denier. I'm a flat earther denier. I don't believe in flat earthers.
Yeah, they don't exist. It's a government conspiracy.
I believe that flat earthers are a hoax. I believe that flat earthers are trolls.
Okay.
That's what I believe.
I got one more thing for you to support the birds are not real people. Okay. I was watching National Geographic with my wife the other day.
Right.
They create these robotic animals.
Yeah.
They look like real animals. And they'll be like, one of them was a bat, right? And there's a small camera in the eye of this thing, but they hang it on a tree and the thing's moving its head and like flapping its wings. And there's all these other bats around. It looks flipping real. I mean,
yeah.
Who knows?
And the government technology that's the technology they want to tell you about. We got stuff that's 40 years beyond that. Birds aren't real.
With that, I think we end the show. Holy mackerel. Everybody, have a great weekend. We'll be back here on Monday. If you've got any show ideas that you'd like us to cover in the future, let us know. We got a really awesome announcement coming Monday, so don't miss it. We'll be here noon on Monday, just like every weekday. Until then, go enjoy the outdoors. Remember that birds aren't real. Aliens are. The earth is flat. And, and communism is a realistic, can produce a great outcome for society. All right. See you guys.
Some of that's true.
See ya.